Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Hello friends, welcome to Fairfield Today. Paul Jasson with you. We're in the spacious lobby downtown, and we wish you all Merry Christmas from all of us at Interface Video and from the good folks here at Fairfield Federal. Tis the season. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. All those things are upcoming. We hope all that's wonderful for you. We get going on our final show for the year, and we're always glad to have a young lady with us. She gets it not too often, a couple times a year. It's a pleasure to have her on. Susan Nixon-Stoughton. Miss Stoughton, how are you?
I'm fabulous. And yourself?
I'm well. I understand you just had a vacation, came back from Florida. That's not bad in December, right?
Not bad at all. Yes, we were there.
Nice.
The weather was beautiful, and I was able to have the opportunity to watch my youngest niece graduate from college.
And I got lost the office pool because you came back. I thought, well, maybe it'd be so nice down there. She says, I like this.
That
it's a
would
hard
be
call.
nice, but yes.
Life happens, so welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. It sure does when you run a shelter, let me tell you.
Susan Nixon-Stoughton, of course, is the executive director for the Lighthouse shelter. It's a domestic violence operation here in Lancaster and Fairfield County that operates 24/7. And we're at the end of 2024. Before we get into some current things going on, what kind of year did you have?
So our fiscal year is July through June.
Okay.
And
so we're halfway through the new year.
We're halfway through the new year.
Yep.
But numbers coming out of the year that, ended June 30th, we've been busy. Thanks for us, not every domestic violence shelter was packed during COVID. However, on our court side, we continued to be very, very busy.
Your advocates are swamped?
Yes. So basically, for people who may not be familiar with the Lighthouse, they may either know us as we have advocates that work in both court systems, municipal and common pleas, or they may know that we are a shelter, but we actually do all of the above. As well as I have a case manager who works with clients to secure housing, jobs. If they are entitled to some services through community agencies, she makes sure they're hooked up with those. So we really are the only full-service domestic violence program serving Fairfield County.
The entire county?
The entire county.
Wow.
And during times where, and this happens both ways, it could be a client at the Lighthouse or it could be a client elsewhere. If, for lack of a better term, if a client's cover's been blown and their abuser finds them, we take in clients from other counties so that we can provide them shelter that they lost where they were. And we do the same thing if we have a client whose abuser finds them. We call around to other shelters to make sure we can get them safely moved.
That happen often?
Not often, but when it does, it needs to happen
swiftly.
I
would say you have to get on that right now. You
Absolutely.
Can't. Dilly-dallying around will not go well.
Exactly. And to kind of talk about how the minds of an employee with a Lighthouse works. When we had it happen, the last time that it was really a critical situation, my house manager that left the shelter at midnight was heading home, and I get a call, and she said, "Susan, I'm sorry to wake you up, but something doesn't feel right." And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And a car that didn't necessarily fit into Lancaster, she had never seen a car like this around town, sat through a green light near the shelter, and they were, about a block away, and they didn't go through the green light, and she just had this feeling. So the next morning I went into a client's room, and sadly her abuser wears a weapon for a living, and I explained what this car looked like, and her eyes got huge and she got tears in her eyes, and sure enough it was her abuser. So we were able to swiftly get her moved several counties away to make sure she would be safe.
Well, good for your person, just having her shields go up and say just a little thing like that just triggered something, and we got to make to make this happen.
Exactly. So, I work with a group of fabulous women that their minds are always thinking, what's the next step? And we do offer everything that we possibly can where safety is concerned. We've got cameras everywhere, and anytime I know somebody's coming in to possibly make a donation, drop off items, whatever, basically I try to get out of them approximate time, and I just lovingly say, look, it's considered stranger danger, and if we know somebody's to come to the door, it's a lot less stress on staff than to not expect somebody to come and wonder, are they friend foe type situation.
So your fiscal year ended a few months ago, and you say you've been pretty busy, I guess. Can you lay that at the feet of anything? Is it the economy? Is it the climate in the country right now? Is there anything that sticks out to you as to why you should be a little busier?
For instance, right after the first of the year, especially around February when bills start hitting from Christmas.
Oh, triggers it?
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll see an increase then. I always say it's out doing community education and letting people know it's what we do, and there's no shame in safety. And so to talk about our last fiscal year, the victims advocates that work out of both municipal court and obviously Court of Common Pleas, we assisted over 1,100 people through Fairfield County. And then on the shelter side of what we do, we provided over 5,100 nights of shelter, and that almost doubled what we did the year before, and we more than doubled the number of clients that we served within the shelter. And some may stay with us a night and go back to the abuser. Others may be with us. We've had people there as long as 5, pushing 6 months. If we know that they are this close to receiving permanent housing, we're going to work with them and stay with them and make sure that we can get them to their next step, and make sure that the entire time we're working on safety planning so that this doesn't ever happen to them again.
You said something a little bit earlier about sometimes people just say a night, and we certainly hear this story again where people have some domestic issues. They split up for a while. Maybe they don't come to you, but they split up, but then they go back and kind of it's ongoing. And I'm sure you see that. Do you give suggestions to your clients about maybe you shouldn't do this or maybe you should do that?
We can't actually offer them advice on what they should do.
Sure.
But what we can do is to just really make sure that they understand that I still have a job because this is still happening. And many times what we see is it's generational. They grew up in a household where this happened. They marry or get into a relationship with somebody who acts the same way, but it's all they know. And if you truly want to break this chain that just doesn't seem to want to end, you really need to do this for your kids. Your kids don't deserve this. And Paul, we've had children, and it happens more often than I care to talk about, who are nonverbal when they arrive at the shelter. The parent truly believes, is it autism? What is it? By the time they leave the shelter, they're talking in full sentences. But at a very young age, they have learned, if I just don't say anything, they're not going to come at me.
Yeah.
And for me, that's really hard to see.
How sad is that?
Yes. And that is always the turning point for the mother.
Yeah.
She gets the fact that, Lord, I really thought we had some issues here. And it was just this child protecting themselves.
Yeah, so maybe we need to make a change.
Absolutely. And, bitter or better, I have 3 lines of defense, and the team knows this. My first line of defense is to make sure that all of my coworkers are safe. Without them, and if anything happens to them, then the keys to the kingdom are in the hands of somebody we don't want them to have. My second line of defense are the kids. Throughout all of this, they don't have a voice. They're innocent to this.
Yeah.
And then it's the adult that becomes our client, because adults are going to make adult choices. But I have to make sure my staff's safe and those kids are protected as best we can.
Now, when we talk about that, what kind of staffing do you have down there? We've talked about your advocates that deal pretty much on the court side of things, and then you have the shelter people that deal there. So you have obviously several people that are ongoing people at the shelter.
On payroll, I have 14 people. 2 are basically on call. If we need them, they'll come in. Then we have 5 part-timers. And what we're doing is we need to cover the shelter 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Christmas is no different than any other day. We have to make sure that we have coverage. So we have what we call house managers, and they're the ones that, they're heroes, because I always say if you've got somebody walking through a shelter in their pajamas, they're somewhat vulnerable. And they need somebody to just listen. And certainly those clients come in with a range of emotions. They're angry, they're sad, they physically hurt. There are just so many things that they go through, and that staff member clocks out at midnight and goes home. They're coming back tomorrow to do it all over again. So it's just really making sure as best they can they're checking what they have seen and heard at the door when they leave, because tomorrow is a new day. That client's going to be at a different place. They could have kids that are sick. There could be any number of things that could be going on, and they just have to be prepared for what tomorrow is going to bring.
Susan Nixon-Stoughton is our guest today, and we've only got a minute or so left, but I wanted to hit on a big event you've got coming up, the dueling pianos.
Yes, the last Saturday in February. We have a new location this year. We are going to be at the Moose.
Nice.
So down on Sugar Grove Road. They have reached out and are going to host the event this year. We added last year, the first 2 years we had a silent auction. And last year, Jonathan LeMay agreed to step up, and we did a live auction as part of the event, and that was truly a game changer for us. So we're going to do that again this year, and tickets will go on sale for this event usually I post them New Year's Eve, and that way people know New Year's Day that to get a hold of us and start purchasing tickets. And I am very proud to say that the first 3 years we've done this event, we've been a sellout every year. It's a lot of fun.
And money all goes for we know the good reasons.
Exactly. And as you heard prior to us starting, we've got a little roof leak problem, so I'm going to have some structural repairs to make.
So bid high and bid often.
Please.
Susan Nixon-Stoughton with the Lighthouse Domestic Shelter. Thank you, and you look lovely in your Christmas colors.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and hope it's a great year for the shelter down there.
Thank you, and Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. We'll be back in just a moment.
If you've been thinking about getting a home loan, now is the time. Hi, this is Carrie James from Fairfield Federal. Our experienced lenders are here to help you make your vision a reality. For more than 125 years, we've been helping our community achieve homeownership. Fairfield Federal has convenient online application for your home loan, home equity loan, and home equity line of credit needs. Visit fairfieldfederal.com to get started. Fairfield Federal for checking, savings, and home loans. Data charges may apply, subject to credit approval. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 402612.
The reason why I do what I do is I love helping people, and I really love to work on understanding and striving to improve the lives of the people in our community. Being in Fairfield County is having a network of people around you.
I am driven by my belief that every individual deserves an opportunity to achieve mental and emotional balance, and I'm very passionate about contributing to that process.
Community, connections, collaboration. The Fairfield County Way.
What makes Fairhope what it is our staff. It's always a question that we ask, why do you want to be here with us? And what they most always say is, you've touched my life this way. You know, you took care of this person, or I've seen what you've done and I want to do that. And so the staff that have been here know what it takes. They've been on the other side. They see what it takes to make someone comfortable, to make the family comfortable, and really what kind of support they need. And so I think that's what really makes Fairhope what it is.
Fairfield Medical Center is more than a hospital. We're a health system that's been putting people first for more than a century. From the youngest patients to the eldest, our compassionate team of caregivers are here to support you through every season of life. We are healers, cheerleaders, patient advocates, and champions. Your health is our greatest accomplishment, and we are proud to serve you. Whatever you're searching for, you can find it at Fairfield Medical Center.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our two locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Welcome back to Fairfield Today, and again, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all our listeners and viewers out there. We hope 2025 is just a wonderful year for you. Some of us perhaps would like to put 2024 behind us, and that's okay. So we're moving into 2025. We're going to wrap up the show. Appreciate Susan Nixon-Stoughton being on with the Lighthouse, and not exactly in the same vein, but somewhat in the same vein about things that are going on in the community. It's a pleasure to have back with us the Police Chief of the Lancaster Police Department, Nick Snyder. Chief, welcome.
Thanks, Paul. Glad to be on.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on, and as I say, the last time I saw you, you appeared to have a big smile on your face, and you're turning the corner right behind us here as we were sitting there, Kathy Bittler and I, talking about the holiday parade, and there you were in your typical fashion in your uni, looking good out there, but you had a companion with you that day.
I did.
Congratulations on being a relative newlywed, right?
Very newlywed, yes. Just a little over a month ago I was married.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I lucked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, you married up.
Yeah, I did.
So,
yeah, somebody took me
a lot
in.
of us did. Yeah, that's right. Somebody had pity on you. I understand that. So congratulations on that. And just a little quick note, is it fun marching to that parade where you're just waving? I would think that would be just a hoot.
Oh yeah, it's fun. You know, it can get a little bit cold and all of those little weather factors, like the July 4th one is a little warm and whatnot.
But this one wasn't bad.
You forget about it.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's such a cool thing for everybody to come out in Lancaster and really just be in one area. Those events are so fun to be a part of.
That holiday parade is absolutely a fun parade. I mean, everybody's in a good mood.
Yeah.
And you throw any candy out, or is that something you do?
I ate some candy, and I threw more candy than I ate, but I did eat a fair amount of candy.
Excellent, excellent. Police Chief for the Lancaster Police Department is with us. When you look back, you chiefed the entire year here for 2024. Been a good year for the police department?
It has. I feel like somebody needs to sew my head on because it has still been spinning, but we have such a good group of men and women down there, and they make, I mean, I know it's cliche to say, but they make my job so easy, and we had a really good year, a lot of programs we developed and a lot of things we refined, but a very, very, very good year for us.
You know, I've seen a lot, maybe, I don't know, maybe I've just been sensitive to it, but your police dog thing, has that kind of grown in the department? Because I see now dogs and policemen and more than I've perhaps seen in the past.
Sure. So Lancaster historically up until late 2022, we didn't have a canine program. And in 2022, we got our first dog, late 2022. And since then, we've grown to 3 canine officers. So along with adding the dogs, you don't just add a dog and immediately see that. The officers have to get trained and they have to get comfortable within their job and what they do. And I would say now we're screaming. Those 3 guys are amazing. They run one of the best training groups that I've ever witnessed myself. And those are all officers. Those are all informal leaders that just took the lead, and they run their own training group. They work with other agencies, and they're kicking butt. They're doing a really good job.
Is Brian still involved in that?
Brian
Malone?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Brian Malone.
Brian grew up in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
He was just a little great friend with one of my grandsons, and I watched him grow up. He just lives around the corner from me and become he was a medic for a while, and he was a volunteer. He worked in the Pleasant Township Fire Department, I believe, for a while. We did some things and finally settled in on being a policeman, and then from that evolved into working with a canine, and he is absolutely crazy about this job.
Yeah.
He just loves it.
He's an amazing officer. He's one of those officers that wears 100 different hats, and he enjoys wearing 100 different hats. He's our our technology guy. He's our canine officer. He's our medic on our SWAT team.
Yeah.
He's on our drone team. He co-manages the drone team with Sergeant Welsh. He does an amazing job. He's very invaluable to us.
He's a great kid. I know his parents, like I say, he grew up in our neighborhood. And it's been, like you say, he was a medic. He can do a lot of things, and he does them all well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the canine thing may be his niche. He loves that.
I think that might be his niche.
And he gets an air-conditioned vehicle out of it, so it's not all bad, you know.
Yeah.
So.
We have Belgian Malinois, but we call his dog the Hungarian Malinois because he's a little bit bigger of a dog.
Brian has to have something different.
That.
Yeah, he will. Well, it's been a year. You've had some good things happening out there. I know there are some things that you've got going on as we move into to 2025, and you have something called a Kids and Gift event. What is that?
What that is our Lancaster Citizen Police Academy Alumni Association and LPD. We pair up and we raise money to get gifts for children in the community that are in need. So, for instance, if what we do is typically reach out to local resources like Lancaster 211's a great resource.
They're always great.
And they're aware of families that are struggling and might not have a Christmas, so we reach out to them. We get a list of families that are in need. We start raising money for that earlier in the year. And then come sometime in Christmas, this year it was December 14th, we go out to the local Walmart with the kids and their families, and we shop with them. And Fairfield Federal is actually a big contributor to that as well.
What a great event.
It's cool. They get to see us in our police uniforms, our SWAT uniforms, detectives. We're all out there. So
I bet they eat that up.
Yeah, and we would not be able to do it without our donors. There's too many to list, but Fairfield County 211, Fairfield Federal, Walmart, they're all big parts of that.
Been doing that for a while?
We've been doing that. Oh yeah, we've probably been doing that since 2010.
Okay.
I would say.
And just tremendous success, I'm sure.
It's fun every year. Yeah. Whether we can never get to all the families that need it, but as long as you feel like you're contributing and helping someone, I think that's the most important thing.
Making a difference, certainly in some lives.
Yeah,
maybe not all, but some.
Absolutely.
Sure. And you mentioned this. I was going to go there next anyway. You mentioned your police academy. I don't know how many years it's been going on. It's been going on for a while, but that's a pretty cool project.
It is. So it's different than other citizen police academies. We don't actually deploy our police academy graduates out into the field to do any type of work. We reserve that for the police officers. But what it does is it gives the public a chance that might have questions about the police department and what our roles and jobs are. They can attend a 9-week course. And we have over 20 instructors within the department that teach the course. Boy. And we'll teach them about investigations, the legal system, narcotics, our SWAT team. They get to see the whole gamut. They even go through some mock homicide investigations, mock SWAT call-outs. So they just get that actual context of the job that we do. They do ride-alongs, and after the 9 weeks, they graduate and they have a chance to be in the Lancaster Citizen Police Academy Alumni Association, which is a group that has always supported us.
Now, how do they apply or get more information on that?
They'll see
on your website?
In early February, we will start blasting out on social media and our website the application process. Okay. And if you're interested, you just go to the form. You'll be able to download the form and fill it out right online, submit it, and we'll be in touch.
And what you say, it's a 9-week?
It's a 9-week course, probably, I would say anywhere from 10 to 12 actual classes with 20 instructors.
Pretty much take place at the office?
It'll take place at the police department, yes. Yeah.
But it just get a great PR thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear people talk about it in the community. I think everybody's so proud that they graduated through it. Yeah. You've got a lot of graduates now.
We have a lot of graduates. A lot of people I run into. It's getting to the point now where I have a hard time even remembering that people went through it. But, it is good PR. I love going in there. I typically do an introduction. I love going in there and seeing on the introduction people with skepticism maybe. And then at the graduation, hearing their
180 degrees.
It is just so cool, and we get everyone from city council members to community members to even people that maybe aren't fans of police officers. They'll do it just to get an education on what we do, and it's valuable.
And all those reasons are okay.
They're all great.
Sure.
Yeah, they're all great.
Sure. How many people I don't know if you how many people do you want, if you have your druthers, how many in a class?
We do have to limit it. I would say we probably limit it around 20 people in a class.
You usually have more applying than that?
We typically always have more applying.
Really?
There is a small background process that takes place just because you can't have certain things going on when you're giving people unfettered access to the police department.
Sure.
But by and large, if you apply, you have a very good shot of being a student in the class.
We're winding down 2024. Luckily, so far, the snow has been almost non-existent, but we are moving in a time of year. It's Ohio. It's coming. We know that. It just depends. Usually January can be our rough month. Does that make a big deal with the police department when you get into this kind of thing?
Absolutely. And I think our priority, there's two types of things going on in the winter. There's the weather, which is a big deal, and then just winter in general brings some problems. So the weather, we're dealing with traffic accidents, obviously, and that's the big thing with winter weather. So the advice we put out there is plan ahead. And just because a street's cleared or you think a path is clear, realize that the temperature is down and there's the possibility that there's ice. So just don't be in a rush. That's the biggest deal.
That always is the best thing.
Nearly every accident, honestly, winter or otherwise, is attributed to speed or being in a rush, not taking all the necessary precautions. So especially in the winter, take your time and just don't be in a rush. That will save you a lot of grief.
And like you say, that black ice, sometimes you think, I'm the only car on the road here, I'm fine. Next thing you know, you're facing the rear end.
And I've been a victim of it. I mean, here I am giving advice, and I'm aware of the advice, but I've absolutely slipped on the ice before in my vehicle because I wasn't expecting it to come up. So just try to do everything you can to be ready for that. And small things in the winter too, like having an emergency kit ready in your car, like hand warmers and small stuff like that. You don't need to go pack water and food away in your vehicle, but just things that you would run into if you're in an accident scene and your car is disabled and it's freezing. You want some hand warmers, you'd want an extra sweatshirt, things like that.
Do you ever get to you hear it on TV a lot, or maybe it's in shows where if you have a fender bender, maybe it's more Columbus oriented, where they're not taking those kind of calls now. All you do is trade information and move on. Do we ever get to that here, or is that uncommon?
We do. We have what's called a non-investigative accident, to where if the damage is not, egregious, we will ask that. Our dispatchers will ask that on the phone, and people always have the option to move on and handle it through their insurance company. Now, the only times that we won't respond to an accident is if we have prioritized calls, like violent calls, assaults, domestic violence, things like that. There are times that we just have to tell the motorist, hey, we're not going to be able to get to that. And actually, it's a good segue into, I was just bragging on our officers earlier. Kobe Reed, one of our newer officers, was going to a stranded motorist. It was cold out, but he had a prioritized call that involved violence, unfortunately. But as he was talking to the motorist, he's like, hey, I can't help you out. But he bought the guy an Uber ride to get home. And it's like, our officers do that every day, and we don't necessarily, I'm advertising it now, but, we try not to go out and say, look at us, but that happens so much with those guys down there, and I thank the world for them, because they all have a big heart.
And I would bet that's happened way more than we would realize, where
more.
Good deeds are done just under the radar.
Yeah, absolutely. Trips to McDonald's and getting clothes for people's kids and things like that. These guys are awesome. They really are, and they make my job a heck of a lot easier. So
now, what's staffing as we end 2024? Are we in good shape?
We're at 77 right now. We're authorized to 79 sworn positions. I'm looking at probably 4 to 6 retirements in 2025, just because people have run out of time to work. They're butting up against the max amount of time they can work. So I'm looking proactively to try to fill those positions before we become low in staffing again. So I think we'll get there. I think probably by mid-January we'll be at 79, but as that year progresses, we're going to lose 4 to 6 officers, and hiring will take care of that. We'll keep plugging away recruiting-wise.
So staffing, while it's not at a critical level, it's, I guess, always ongoing. You're always gaining people, losing people. That's just part of the job.
I could use a full-time recruiter and hiring person, because it's just a constant thing that we're dealing with. And as you know, nationwide, recruiting and hiring in law enforcement is a very difficult thing to do in 2024 and 25. I will say, luckily, this community supports its agency. We've built a really good reputation, and when we hire, there's a lot of applicants that are interested in working for us, so that's great. And I'll give a shout out to my bosses in city council. They allow us to, when we hire, look at a human being first and not necessarily a piece of paper. So we don't have to go hire someone that's already been a police officer to bridge that gap. We are able to actually hire a good human being And I think that pays dividends.
In a small community, that's important, I
Yeah,
think.
absolutely.
You want good people.
You have to have it.
Yeah.
It's necessary.
Nick Snyder, our police chief for the Lancaster Police Department. So again, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
Going to be a exciting 2025. There is no
It
doubt
will
in
be.
your job. We have no idea what that means, but it will be exciting.
Always interesting. That's what I
Always
say.
interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's true. Thanks. Good
Thank
luck.
you. Thank you,
Thanks.
Paul.
Thanks for joining us on Fairfield Today.
Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.